One more circle. And then bringing right foot to standing again. Crossing right ankle over left thigh. And then either staying here or bringing both legs in towards the chest and reaching through and clasping either the right thigh or the right shin. Tucking chin. If there's any strain on the knee or any other part of the leg or the hip, just loosen back a little bit. If it's not quite enough for you, flex the left foot and bring it in closer to the chest. Finding just the right space here for you. And then release. Right foot comes back to standing. Left foot joins beside. And then right ankle comes across left thigh. And then stay here or bring both legs in towards the chest. Once again, finding your sweet spot. And then releasing, lifting both legs up to sky, soles of feet. Parallel, lifting both arms up to sky. Pausing, allowing the blood to drain out. We use our hands and our feet so much moment by moment. And then if you wish, you can bring your hands down or put them slightly under your buttocks. And then taking your time, press down with the lower back. And then to the count of 10 or so, bringing both legs down towards the earth. And then bringing knees into chest and lift legs up again and twice more. So legs are straight, soles of the feet towards the sky, pressing down with the lower back. And then to the count of 10, slowly lowering the legs down. And then legs to chest once more. Final one, raising legs up, pressing down with lower back, and then slowly lowering legs to floor. And then releasing here. And turning onto your side in a fetal position with knees bent. And bring both the palms together so the arms are on top of each other. See if you need a pillow or something under your head. And then whichever arm's on top, whichever hand's on top, begin to bring those fingers on the rug or the whatever you're lying on overhead. So the fingertips stay on the earth and you reach as far as you can and bring them up, touching the earth overhead, allowing the whole torso to roll and join it on the way back. As you turn and look over, and then slowly bring those fingertips along the earth till they come up and over the buttocks and the hip, and then the thighs back to the floor. So the palms join once more. And so twice more like that. Full circles of the arm. pausing wherever calls you. If something calls you, to stay in for a few breaths. And then slowly coming back where the arms are stacked on top of each other. And then one final circle. And then shifting to the opposite side, to the opposite shoulder. So you can just roll over, or you can come to the opposite end of your mat. So opposite shoulder on the ground, head on the ground, knees are bent, arms are on top of each other with palms together. And then slowly beginning the top fingers to draw a circle up over the head. Turning over onto the back slightly as the arm leads, perhaps pausing. And then completing two more of these large, slow, gentle circles. And then slowly coming back to center and pausing here. And then as you're ready, coming up onto your hands and knees for table position. As always, with hands right under shoulders, knees right under hips. Coming onto fists or moving hands forward if there's any wrist sensitivity. And then moving into your cat-cow, dropping through the spine, looking up at the sky on the inhale. And then exhale, tucking tail under and chin comes to chest. Following your own rhythm in the next few moments. And then one more each way. Coming back into center. And then bringing right leg in, right knee in slightly towards center, pressing down with the foot and the shin. Invite the left leg to come up, flexing the foot, and then leveling out the hips. And then if you can stay here, you can raise the opposite arm. And then releasing back. And then the left knee comes in slightly towards the center, pressing down with the shin and the foot. And then raising the right leg up, flexing the foot and leveling out the hips, and inviting the opposite arm to rise up, keeping eyes down, long spine. And then releasing. Toes come together, knees come wide, and bring the sits bones back to the heels for Child pose, hands walk forward and bring the nose to the earth. If the nose or the forehead doesn't reach to the earth, then bring a pillow, block, or perhaps your hands and fists. And then walk the hands over to the left as far as body reaches. One more breath here. And then walking the hands back through center to the opposite side. And then slowly coming back to center. Beginning walking the hands out and moving on to your belly. Hands come beneath the shoulders, elbows in close to ribs. And bring the toes so they're touching. And the forehead comes to earth. Pressing down with feet and knees and then rising up. No weight on the hands, elbows in close. Exhale, forehead back to earth. Inhale, bringing torso up, elbows in close, no weight on the hands. And then sliding back to earth. And then we're going to come up into Yogi's Choice. You can come into Sphinx. You might remember Sphinx when we raise the torso, bring the elbows under the shoulders. Hands flat. Letting the hands pull out. And then coming back to forehead with hands back under shoulders. Now you can return to Sphinx in this last hold, or you can come up into full cobra. Go inhaling, rising to baby cobra, which is here, to Sphinx, which is elbows under shoulders and hands flat on it, or coming all the way up to cobra. Pubic bone stays down, feet are pressed down, elbows are bent and then close to the ribs. And then slowly releasing, turning onto one cheek or the other with the arms underneath, the hands underneath the cheeks. And then you can just stay here and rest. We're going to do another couple of holds and lifts. If there's any tenderness in the lower back, then feel free to rest this one out. Otherwise, bring your forehead to the earth. Bring the feet not quite to the edge of the mat, just a little bit wider than the hips. The hands come down beside the hips, palms to the earth, a little bit out. And then raising the torso, the head and the shoulders, and raise the arms. And raise the legs, bending the knees slightly. And then release. And forehead back to earth. And then inhaling, head, shoulders, arms, legs. And then release. And then checking in with self for a slightly longer hold here. Perhaps resting if that feels better for energy and body. So inhaling, head, shoulders, arms up, legs up, slightly bent. And then release. And coming back up into table. And then through table into downward dog. Hands forward, feet on ground. Hips up. And then walking the dog so the heels alternately coming toward the earth. You can always come into a child's pose here, if that's a preferred energy. And come into stillness. Arms are straight, shoulders rolling outward, upper arms outward. And then taking the right foot, walk it in little steps or one large step to in between the hands. And coming into a lunge here, dropping the back knee down. Coming up onto fingertips, lengthening through the spine and opening through the groin, maybe closing the eyes, lifting up, opening, reaching back, with leg. And then bringing hands to inside of right leg, heel toeing the right foot out towards the edge of the mat, coming onto the hands. Some people like to come to the forearms here. I'll demonstrate, but optional, depending on multitude of factors. Keeping front knee above right ankle. And then slowly walking foot back in between hands. And then beginning to lean back, straightening that front leg. So you're folding over it. And then lifting the toes up, but heel stays down. And just forward folding that outstretched leg. And then bringing foot back. And then bring that front knee back beside the left knee. I'm coming back into table. And then moving into downward dog once more. Maybe alternating the heels towards the earth. And then pausing and coming into stillness. And then the left foot either takes a few little steps to come up between the hands. You can help it forward if it needs help. And then dropping down onto the back knee, flattening the back foot. Front knee comes over ankle. Come up onto fingertips and lengthen through the spine. Lengthen through the groin. Lifting up while being grounded. And then moving both hands to inside of leg, heel toeing that leg out a little bit. And then stable foundation, so front knee over front ankle, back knee down. And then maybe staying on hands or fists, or perhaps coming down onto forearms if front knee stays square and stable. And then slowly coming back up, wiggling heel, toeing foot back in between the hands, and then moving backward, keeping heel where it is, but raising toes and straightening that front, straightening-ish, that front leg, and folding forward. And then flattening that back, that front foot, and then coming up onto the toes of the back foot, and bring that back foot up beside the front so you're at the front of your mat in a forward fold. You can take a few steps, or you can swing it up. So feet are hip distance apart, knees are slightly bent. And you can clasp the elbows or the back of the calves. Or maybe clasp the hands and bring them to the back of the head. And then bringing hands back down to shins wherever they were. And then taking a moment or two or three breaths, slowly coming back up to standing. At the top of your mat, standing. Closing the eyes. Coming into your Tadasana. Feet solid. Knees lightly bent. Pelvis stable. Torso lifting up, shoulders roll up and back. Chin is lightly tucked back. And then raising right arm. Curving forward and looking down at the opposite foot. And then release opposite side. And bringing hands to hips. Right foot comes back. And flatten it out, turning it at 45 degrees. Front knee comes over front ankle. And finding the right stable position for your back. We're going to do what we did last week, which you might recall. So you're going to come into Virabhadrasana 1, which is hips both facing forward. Front knee over front ankle, and back foot either at 45 degrees or you come up onto the ball of your foot. And then you can keep your hands on your hips, or you can raise your arms up to sky. Dropping shoulders if the arms are raised. And you can curve, you can add a little bit more, curving slightly back. Stillness, vibrant, awake stillness. Bringing hands back to hips. Straighten front knee. Hips are still facing the front of the mat. And maybe shorten the stride a little bit so the feet are a little bit closer together. We're going to fold forward so that the torso is parallel to the earth, keeping hands to start with on hips. So keeping both legs straight, begin to bring the torso over so it's parallel to the earth. Have a sense of flattening your back and lengthening from your head down to the spine. And then coming back up to standing. And then this time, you can either leave your hands on your hips for the stability, or you can bring the hands down to the sides of the thighs. And then as you lean forward, parallel, bring the torso parallel, and then raise the arms up toward the sky. Flatten the back. And then slowly come up to standing, hands on hips. We're going to try one more this way, with arms coming down the sides or staying on hips, and then folding forward, raising arms. Creating space between the shoulders and the ears. And then coming back up, hands on hips. And then if you want, just for fun, to join me in bringing, we're going to come into one-legged, I think it's called one-legged stork. So you're going to bring the back leg up, parallel to the earth, and the front hands can come up as well, parallel to earth. Flexing the back foot helps, so you're on one foot. And you're aiming for the whole body to be parallel. And then release, foot down. And then you're going to turn both legs. We're going to do a wide angled forward fold. So that might need you to come forward and turn, or just turn, bring both legs open to the long end of the mat with the hands on the hips. And turning toes in slightly. Soften through the knees. And then bring the right hand over to the left thigh. Keeping the knees soft, slide down to wherever you can reach here. Might be thigh, knee, shin. And then raise the opposite arm up to the sky and turn and look up if spine allows, if neck allows. If there's any discomfort here, then bringing the nose back and maybe dropping that back arm. So really sussing out what is right for you here. And then slowly drop that arm and using the hand to come back up to center, returning with both hands on hips. And then opposite hand comes to opposite thigh and begin to slide down. And then raise the opposite arm up and looking up at sky. And then slowly rising back up. Hands on hips once more. And then turning the feet out, so they're angled out. We're going to move into goddess. So beginning to bring knees down over ankles. I'm tender with my knees. You might not be, that depends on your knees. And then raising arms, so upper arms are parallel. And palms are facing toward the ears in Goddess. And then when you're ready, standing and turning opposite foot, so opposite end of the mat, and bringing hips facing the short end of that mat, finding the right distance between your legs. First, we're going to move into Virabhadrasana 1, Spiritual Warrior. So back foot can be at 45, or you can be right up on the ball of the foot. Slowly lowering knee over ankle. Straightening up again, kind of finding just the right spot for you. And then when you're ready, you can leave your hands on your hips, or you can raise your arms up. Perhaps tilting back. Releasing hands and straightening front leg. And then maybe shortening the distance a little bit between the two legs, still keeping hips forward. And then to start with, we're going to practice once with leaning forward, bringing torso parallel to earth. And then coming to standing. And we'll do 2 more holds. You can either bring your hands down beside the thighs or keep them on your hips. And then moving torso forward, flattening back, and then raising arms up. Coming back to standing. And once more. Leaning forward, torso steady, arms raising up. Coming back to standing, and then optional, if you wish to join me in that front leg being the only part of your body on the ground. Leaning forward, raising back leg up, and then maybe arms coming out like you're flying. Back leg comes parallel, arms are parallel, torso parallel. Just with one. And then we'll complete our standing series by coming into raised leg. So come onto the weight of one leg and then leveling the hips, turning leg outward, toes come to ground and sole of the foot comes to the ankle. Maybe you want to stay here. Or maybe you want to raise the sole of the foot to the calf or to the inside of the thigh. And then maybe you want to add arms up to sky. And then releasing and switching to the opposite side. All the weight comes to the opposite foot, starting with hands on hips, sole of foot against inside of ankle, toes on the ground. Maybe staying here or maybe raising foot to inside of calf or inside of thigh. And then, if you wish, adding arms. And then releasing, shaking the legs and the arms out. And then as you're ready, coming into a seated position with legs stretched out. And pausing here for just a moment. . And then walking the hands forward, bringing the belly toward the thighs, the nose toward the knees, and come as far as this body calls for today. Relaxing, releasing. And 3 more breaths right here. And then slowly, as you're ready, coming back up to seated. Bringing hands slightly behind hips and feet come to standing. And moving legs side to side like windshield wipers. Coming back into stillness. Release the left leg out straight and bring the right foot to standing. And then crossing the right foot over the left thigh. And then maybe, if you wish, tucking that left foot under. And when you try that out, feel if both sits bones comes to earth. If they don't, then keep that leg straight. Holding right leg with left hand. Bringing right hand down to base of spine-ish, and then beginning to return, looking over belly, ribs, shoulders, and neck. And then imagine there's a gentle nudge forward so the spine is very long. And then one more breath here. And slowly turn back to center. Release the right leg and let it come out straight. And then bring the left foot to standing on the inside of the right leg and then cross it over. And then make your decision if you want to tuck that right leg out under or keep it straight. And using the right hand on the left shin, bring the left hand behind and then slowly turn belly, ribs, shoulders, neck. And slowly turning back to center. And coming on to your back with the knees to the chest, rocking side to side. And then release. The arms come out into T. The left leg comes straight out and cross the right leg over. And maybe shift the hips a little bit to the right and then bring both legs to the left, lifting and adjusting the left shoulder and then looking out over the right shoulder if that suits. And then 3 more breaths here. As you're ready, releasing the legs, and coming back to center. And then shifting to the opposite side, taking your time to set up. And then adjusting that right elbow. Note the right shoulder blade. And then 3 more breaths right here. And then slowly coming back, bringing knees to chest, tucking chin and rolling side to side. Then bringing knees wider apart, so the knees are aiming for the armpits. And holding there, or maybe reaching feet up towards sky, clasping the outside of the feet in happy baby. And then releasing, bringing feet together, sliding them down a little bit. Hands come down beside hips. And then just allowing the knees to drop open. If there's any discomfort or unease, then straighten the legs. But if there's an opening here, allow there to be what there is. And you can bring hands to the inside of the thighs. And then slowly releasing, legs straight out, arms out in A with palms up to sky, tucking chin slightly. And as you inhale through the nose, and then open the mouth wide and exhale with a loud sigh. And then once more, inhaling through the nose. And one or two more of those if they call to you. And then coming into stillness, allowing the entire body to completely release. Closing eyes. Allowing the feet and the legs, the buttocks and the hips, the torso, the spine, the arms, the shoulders, the throat and neck, the jaws, the face, the scalp. Completely surrendering every bone, every muscle and tendon, the fascia, every cell of the body completely releasing. Coming into stillness and trusting I will call you back when it's time. And then taking several more breaths. Beginning to wiggle the fingers and the toes, maybe adding circles of the wrists and the ankles. Maybe stretching the arms up above the head. And then as you're ready, turning onto your side body for a breath or two before coming back to seated. And bringing hands into namaste before the heart. I invite you first to bow to your own inner light, your own intuition, your own sense of what is true and inspiring for you, your own limits, your own expansiveness. And bowing to each other and our own sense of spirit or higher power. Thank you as always for the honor of yoga together. And I have a short poem for you today called Still Water. We can make our mind so like still water that beings gather about us that they may see. It may be their own images, and to live for a moment with a clearer, perhaps even with a fiercer life because of our quiet. Thank you as always for sharing Crossroads Gentle Yoga.